Have you ever felt like taking your Canadian Charities mission global is, well, like trying to solve a Rubik's Cube blindfolded? It seems like it should be incredibly complicated, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, prepare for a pleasant surprise. Today, we're taking a deep dive into this really invaluable guide, Canadian Charity International Operations, Legal Guide to Global Funding and Compliance.
Yeah, it's a great resource.
And what we've uncovered reveals not a maze, but actually surprisingly clear pathways for Canadian charities to make a global impact. So let's pull back the curtain on this often misunderstood landscape.
What's really fascinating here, I think, is that despite everyone assuming it's incredibly complicated, the truth is Canadian charities absolutely can support international causes.
Right.
And, as our guide highlights, thousands already do. They're making a real difference worldwide.
That's where the confusion often sets in, though, isn't it? It seems like the Canada Income Tax Act and the Canada Revenue Agency, the CRA, their requirements would create this impossibly complex bureaucratic maze. Yeah.
Or maybe even prohibit it altogether. That's a common misconception.
Exactly.
You'd think so. But in reality, while rules certainly exist, the framework is, well, surprisingly clear once you understand the two fundamental pathways. They're laid out right in the Income Tax Act.
Two pathways.
Exactly two. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, this isn't just about international work. It's actually a consistent approach from the CRA.
Okay.
There are precisely two ways to fulfill charitable purposes. No third option hiding somewhere. And these apply both here in Canada and, importantly, across borders.
Okay, two ways. So let's talk about the first pathway. This one is often described as the simplest, right? Focusing on transfers to what are called qualified donaees.
That's it.
For anyone listening who might be less familiar, these are basically organizations legally able to issue official donation receipts in Canada.
That's right. And the Income Tax Act specifically defines who qualifies. It's actually quite a diverse list, which is really key to its flexibility.
So who's on the list?
Well, you have registered Canadian organizations, think other registered charities, amateur athletic associations, national arts service organizations, things like that.
Yep.
Then there are government entities like municipalities or federal, provincial, territorial governments here in Canada.
Right.
Internationally, the United Nations and its agencies are specifically included.
Ah, okay. That's significant.
Yeah. And interestingly, foreign universities can be on the list, but it's a very specific group.
How specific?
They need to have Canadian students attending, and they have to be officially listed on Schedule the 8th of the income tax regulations. It kind of keeps that connection back to Canada.
I see.
Then perhaps most relevant for broad international impact, you have government-supported foreign charities.
Yeah.
These qualify if the government of Canada has actually made a gift to them recently.
Okay, so there's a vetting process there, sort of.
In a way, yeah.
Yeah.
And lastly, there are housing corporations in Canada, specifically for low-cost housing for the aged.
Okay, quite a list. And what really struck me about this first pathway, reading the guide, is its incredible practicality. It emphasizes that, from the CRA's perspective, no formal agreement is actually required between the two charities.
Yep, not from the CRA side.
It's simply one qualified organization supporting another. So, okay, imagine a Canadian charity wants to help in a crisis zone, say, like Sudan. Instead of trying to set up shop directly in a really compact environment, how could they use this pathway?
It's remarkably straightforward. Instead of trying to put their own boots on the ground in Sudan, which is, incredibly difficult,
Right.
they can simply support an organization like Doctors Without Borders Canada. Doctors Without Borders is a qualified down.
Okay.
They're already established. They have robust expertise, the infrastructure worldwide. So the Canadian charity just makes a simple, legally sound transfer to Doctors Without Borders Canada.
And then
And then that organization uses its global network to deliver aid in Sudan, fulfilling the original Canadian charity's charitable purpose. Simple as that.
So it's almost like the CRA is saying, look, don't reinvent the wheel if there's already a perfectly good one turning globally. That seems surprisingly pragmatic for a government agency.
Absolutely. And this strategic advantage, you really can't overstate it. Imagine you're, say, a small Canadian charity. You've got a big heart, limited resources,
Yeah.
trying to navigate foreign legal systems, set up direct operations in a crisis zone. That could just sink your mission before it even starts.
Sure.
Pathway 1 is kind of a game changer because it lets you plug into these established, compliant giants. It's not just safe and efficient. It's about amplifying your impact without crippling your own organization with direct operational burdens or, unexpected regulatory
He
headaches.
de-risks it.
It totally de-risks global ambition, especially for smaller players.
Right.
Now, it's worth noting, while the CRA doesn't mandate an agreement,
Yeah, you said that.
donor charities often choose to create specific directions or agreements anyway. Well, it's purely for their own internal governance. To make sure funds are restricted for specific purposes or areas, for example. It's as a practical measure for accountability.
Yeah.
Back to their own donors, not a regulatory hurdle imposed by the CRA.
Got it. Okay, that first pathway sounds incredibly straightforward, almost elegant in its simplicity, really.
It can be.
But I'm guessing it doesn't cover every single scenario, does it? What happens if a Canadian charity wants to be more hands-on? Or maybe their ideal partner just isn't on that qualified done list?
You're absolutely right. It doesn't cover everything.
Yeah.
And that brings us neatly to Pathway 2,
Yeah.
conducting what the CRA calls own activities international.
Own activities.
Now,
Yeah.
this pathway offers potentially greater control, but as our guide points out, it definitely requires more sophisticated structures and, crucially, a different understanding of the relationship with any foreign partners.
Oh, so what's the key difference there?
The key distinction is this. Most foreign charities and NGOs are not qualified donees under Canadian law. Simple as that.
Right.
So this means a Canadian charity cannot just make a gift or transfer funds to them as if they were the final recipient.
Okay, so it's not a grant.
Exactly. Instead, the funds must be used for the Canadian charity's own activities. The foreign partners in this model act as intermediaries. They help the Canadian charity fulfill its purposes, rather than being the ultimate beneficiaries of the funds themselves.
Ah, okay. The Canadian charity retains ultimate responsibility.
That's the critical point. Ultimate responsibility for the activities, the outcomes, the funds, it stays with the Canadian charity no matter who's doing the work on the ground.
That makes sense. So for charities that really need that deeper level of control, maybe they have a unique program, they can't just fund a qualified done. How does Pathway 2 actually look on the ground? What kind of structures do they use?
Yeah, and these aren't just legal terms. They really represent strategic choices about how you operate abroad. You've got direct employee and volunteer operations. That's the most hands-on.
Maximum control.
Maximum control, but also maximum liability, right? You're directly managing people overseas.
Okay.
Then there are agency agreements. Here, a foreign organization acts as an agent for your Canadian charity. They're like your eyes and hands on the ground, implementing your specific programs.
Right.
Then there are contractor agreements. This is more like hiring a specialized firm for a defined task, maybe drilling a certain number of wells or delivering a specific training program. They provide a service.
Less like a general representative.
Exactly. For more shared objectives, you might use a joint venture agreement, where two or more organizations pool resources and share risks for a specific project.
Okay.
And finally, the most sophisticated option is usually a cooperative partnership agreement. These tend to involve deeper, shared governance and more long-term collaboration.
Wow. Okay, so quite a range of options there within Pathway 2.
Definitely.
And I imagine with that increased control you mentioned comes increased responsibility. What's absolutely critical for the second pathway in terms of oversight?
Precisely. What's absolutely critical here is robust due diligence up front and then comprehensive oversight throughout. The CRA really expects Canadian charities to maintain direction and control over these international activities.
Okay, direction and control. What does that mean practically?
It means having clear systems in place. Systems to monitor progress, to evaluate the outcomes, and, crucially, to ensure proper fund usage throughout the whole project lifecycle. It's not just about kicking things off, it's about sustained management and accountability. You have to demonstrate that your Canadian charitable purpose is actually being fulfilled.
Right. Okay, so we have these two clear pathways. Pathway 1, simpler, using qualified donees. Pathway 2, more control, using intermediaries for your own activities, but more complex. So if you're involved with a Canadian charity looking to go global, how do you actually choose between them? What should you be asking yourself?
Yeah, that's the key question. It really comes down to several factors that influence the strategic decision. First, you need to really honestly assess your organizational capacity, meaning, do you have the internal legal know-how, the financial systems, the programmatic expertise to manage operations effectively, potentially thousands of miles away? If you're, say, a smaller volunteer-run group, Pathway 1 might be your sweet spot, at least initially.
Makes sense.
Then think really hard about your specific program objectives. Is your main goal to support an existing, proven model where a qualified done already excels? Or do you have a truly innovative approach that really demands that direct, hands-on oversight you only get with Pathway 2?
Right, the why behind the what.
Exactly. Your risk tolerance is also a huge factor. Pathway 2, with its greater control, inherently comes with more regulatory and operational risks to manage. That means you need more resources just for risk mitigation. Are you prepared for that?
Good point.
And finally, consider the geographic focus. Is there already a strong, trusted network of qualified donees doing great work in the region you want to impact? Or are you venturing into a completely new area where maybe you need to build something through Pathway 2 structures? These questions really guide you.
That's a really helpful framework.
And it's also vital to remember, really vital, that regardless of which pathway you choose, compliance is absolutely non-negotiable.
Right. Cannot stress that enough.
And it's not just about ticking Canadian boxes. It also means adhering to the laws of the countries where your activities are actually taking place. You're operating in a global legal landscape now.
Yeah, absolutely. And our guide consistently highlights the critical role of documentation, doesn't it? Keeping meticulous, clear records of all the transfers, the activities, the outcomes. It's essential.
It is. For accountability back to your donors and definitely to the regulators like the CRA.
Both ways.
Exactly. And beyond just the paperwork, regular evaluation and transparent reporting are necessary. You need to ensure the activities actually align with your stated charitable purposes. And, most importantly, that they're delivering the intended benefits to the communities you're trying to serve.
So, pulling this all together, it seems clear then that Canadian charities really do have significant, tangible opportunities for global impact. That's genuinely encouraging news.
It really is.
Yeah.
And for organizations that are maybe new to international work, dipping your toes in, starting with those qualified done transfers, Pathway 1 is often the safest, most sensible introduction.
Learn the ropes first.
Exactly. Then, as your capacity grows, as you gain experience, then sure, more complex arrangements under Pathway 2 can certainly be considered. You become more confident in managing those nuances.
And the most important principle, it seems, running through this whole deep dive is pursuing international charitable work within the established legal framework. It's about proper planning and diligent compliance. That transforms what seems like a complex barrier into actually a clear roadmap.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Which, raises an important question for all of us, I think. In this increasingly interconnected world we live in, how might understanding these clear pathways really empower Canadian charities? How can it help them address truly global challenges, moving beyond traditional borders, leveraging all sorts of diverse partnerships, all while maintaining that crucial, unwavering accountability and transparency for the impact they seek to create? Something to think about.